All right, everyone, it is Dokkan time. So, I have to apologize ahead of time, and I'm gonna have to apologize because one, PIKKON's cool. PIKKON's got a cool OST. PIKKON's got good animations. But he isn't without his faults. He actually is very underwhelming in very non-wanked situations. That is probably the best I can really say. I would say he's a very excellent nuker for events and maybe for some mission-based content for like Otherworld Warriors or something. But otherwise, I do have to say that he is severely overhyped, and I do think you can skip him. So if you haven't summoned for him yet, please don't. Because I do believe that he can be fun, I think he can be cool, but I do not think that you need this unit. I think he has clear weaknesses that can make him very much, well, dang near unrunnable. So, you're going to see a lot of weird things in the roll tips, you're going to see a lot of weird things in general, but I'm going to try to do my best to explain everything about this unit because a lot of people seem to be misunderstanding his kit. So, I'm going to go over the breakdown, we're going to go over his defense, we're going to go over his defense without specific links, and we're going to go over some video animations of showing off his weaknesses, and then we'll go over his build suggestions and his roll tips. So, anyways, so let's just kind of get started here. We'll go with this breakdown first. So, as far as 200% leader options go, unfortunately, I am here to tell you that he has no 220, 250 options. Yes, you do see Cell right there. Cell is definitely a leader option, but no, he is not under the 220, 250 option. As you can see here, he has to be on accelerated battle. Unfortunately, PIKKON is not. And he's not an android. So, it's very unfortunate that he doesn't have any positive 220%, 250 leaders. It does mean that, you know, eventually he could probably look better in the future. But as of right now, at the time of recording, yeah, I mean, the best he can really get is on maybe probably Glorio's team or on Cell's team only because of the domain effect. Actually, does he even benefit from the domain? Hold on, let's just go double check that. I want to triple check that. Does he benefit? Tournament participants, yes. So he does get 15% for being a tournament participant. 15% is fine, but I do feel like Glorio will probably give him an overall better buff otherwise. Though Glorio is not a 200% option, Glorio is a 170. So that is something to keep in mind. So let's just kind of go into his leader skill. So this is actually the first yellow coin. Is it the first? I don't know if he's the first yellow coin, but I think he might be the first legendary summon unit specifically. He's not a carnival unit, but he does get Otherworld Warriors, Saviors, as keep us 3 HP attack and defense of 200%. This is good because we still do need 200% teams. 200% is still very viable. Less than that is not, in my personal opinion, unless you have a lot of support, like with Glorio. Glorio's team can often be, you know, can really pick up the slack because of his support. But otherwise, if he didn't have that, I wouldn't even suggest him as a leader. But yeah, the same thing here with PIKKON. Although Otherworld Warriors has definitely gotten a lot of buffs, it's kind of a one-centered team. And I don't feel like we really needed him to be an Otherworld Warriors leader because we already have better team options for Otherworld-esque warrior teams that would just be pure Saiyans, I mind you. But at the same time, Saviors is nice, and Saviors will probably get buffs as the year goes along. But as of right now, this is a very weak leader skill, in my personal opinion, only because you can make better teams with a 220, 250 leader with these same units from both of these categories. His 12 key is greatly raising attack and defense for 1 turn and greatly lowering the enemy's defense, which is a 50% debuff. On his 18 key, he does have greatly raised attack and massively raised defense for 1 turn, and then greatly lowers the enemy's attack. Please don't get this confused. He does not stack attack, at least not that I'm aware of. As far as I'm concerned, the only reason there is no and in here is because it is a greatly and a massively raised. It's nice that his defense massively does get raised, but it's not enough in my personal opinion. I'll go over his defense numbers in a minute. So, key +3, attack and defense at 250%. He has a 50% chance to dodge, he also randomly changes key spheres to rainbow key spheres that are not physical key spheres. And when there's another Otherworld Warrior or tournament participant ally in the same turn, all allies are getting key +3 and attack and defense of 40%. And then he has as the second attacker in a turn, Otherworld Warriors or tournament participant category allies damage reduction rate of 10% for 2 turns. So specifically as the second attacker in a turn, he will only give tournament participants and Otherworld Warriors the damage reduction of 10% for 2 turns. This is a one-time thing. It will not happen more than once. He does give all allies key +3 attack and defense plus 40%, though honestly, we have better supporters than this, and I don't really see much purpose on keeping him on the team because of this. Although the support is nice, I don't feel much of a need for it. It is nice though. It is nice. And then as the second or third attacker in the turn, he does guard, and he has a 50% chance to crit. He launches an additional attack that has a 50% chance to super, and then he gets an additional 20% dodge chance. So that means as long as he's in slot 2, he's got a 50% chance to crit, he's got a 50% chance to additional, and he's got a 70% chance in total to dodge. And when attacking with 18 or more ki, he has attack and defense of 150%. Now, going down to his active skill, which gets him serious, apparently, for cereal, which can be activated from the 4th turn from the start of battle. I do feel like you do need to activate this kind of right away, unless you're really going for a dodge or die scenario as a 70% dodge tank. I mean, he's not a dodge tank. I'd say he's just a dodge support unit as per usual. But yeah. His link skills are Supreme Warrior, Experienced Fighter, Shocking Speed, Cold Judgment, Otherworld Warriors, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Powder. Unfortunately, I do feel like these are pretty weak. I feel like this is a very weak link skill set. Shocking Speed, although very normally used nowadays, you know, we get a lot of units with Shocking Speed, so this is good. I'm not sure entirely how many units he'll be sharing Shocking Speed with outside of himself, literally as, you know, if you went double LR PIKKON leader or an AGL PIKKON. So I think it's hard to say what team he would be rocking Shocking Speed with. Cold Judgment gives a 25% defense. Unfortunately, as of the time of writing, I feel like Cold Judgment is still a very weak link. And by that, I mean that like there's not a lot of units that have it that are very viable. You do see Jiren on there, but keep in mind that Jiren right there is his standby mode specifically. So it's a 2-turn thing only, and after that, he loses that link. And then past that, I mean, unless we get a surprise EZA from the God Goku hit unit, I'm not seeing too many units where Cold Judgment is really going to be, he'll be linking with, other than AGL PIKKON and he himself as a leader. There is Glorio. Glorio does have Cold Judgment, but Glorio is also stuck to slot 3, which isn't a bad thing because you want PIKKON in slot 2. So I think it is very reasonable to say that if you run a double Glorio team and you have PIKKON on the team, you can put PIKKON in slot 2 and Glorio in slot 3, and that perfectly works fine. It's just every other turn you wouldn't have that Cold Judgment active at that point. But other than that, I mean, he doesn't really have too many viable partners with Cold Judgment. I literally think it is just Glorio and he himself that has Cold Judgment as of the time of writing. Hopefully this changes in the future, as he is an LR and not many people are going to summon for him in general. So having more of a reason to grab him and use him would be best. Otherwise, most of these links you won't be even seeing active. You will see experienced fighters, as you'll be probably linking him up with the transforming Goku Vegeta unit. More than likely, this will be a solid rotation to just be rocking, say, the Goku switch, the Goku standby, or not standby, but the Goku switch in, and then having PIKKON in slot 2. I think that this is actually a very good, viable rotation to be rocking for damage, specifically for damage, not for defense. PIKKON is a true dodge or die, not true dodge or die, I would say. If you throw PIKKON in slot 1, he's dodge or die. But if you put PIKKON in slot 2, post-super, he can survive normals, though I will say that he, contrary to everyone's belief, and I'm sorry to say this, but he's not surviving the hardest hitting bosses in the game. He will die from a super. He's not going to survive the hardest hitting bosses. He will die. He is dodge or die on the hardest fights in the game right now. But then after that, He doesn't have very many categories. As far as his categories go, he's only on Otherworld Warriors, he's on Saviors, Worthy Rivals, Battle of Wits, Storied Figures, and Tournament Participants. Unfortunately, this is a very, very niche set of links. There's not links, but categories. These categories are not really supported that much. I mean, Battle of Wits is what you'll be rocking with Gloria. And then Saviors, Worthy Rivals is just dead in the water. Otherworld Warriors is literally just a singular team right now. And Tournament Participants is, although I would say good, I would say the Tournament Participants has such a variety of characters that they just don't work well together. And that's my problem with Tournament Participants, unless you're just rocking Universe 7. Or just Universe, Universe 11. Tournament Participants basically still sticks to whatever their sagas are or whatever their actual focused partners are. Otherwise, Tournament Participants doesn't really have much room to say for like a PIKKON. PIKKON is very out of place and on that team, even though that's where he kind of belongs. It's very interesting. As I was saying earlier with his links, I do feel like we need a random surprise EZA as his best link partner is the hit God Goku unit. Though it's unfortunate that he wouldn't be sharing more than just Tournament Participants as far as a team goes, which would be rather unfortunate because that would mean his only team option at that point with this unit would be Cell, and which I can honestly say probably a lot of people skipped Cell and probably will continue to skip him even after the release of PIKKON. As far as his other partners go, I do see a lot of bigger YouTubers going out and trying to put him right next to the Friku unit. I still don't feel like this... I just don't like the Frieza Goku unit. I don't feel like the unit has much of a space on many teams. Doesn't have too much of a use. And honestly, I feel like PIKKON's in the same boat. You can still use them. They can still be fun. But overall, I just feel like they're both replaceable units being thrown onto a rotation together. And you'll notice with all of these link partners, he's only sharing like one category with each and every one of them. And it's really unfortunate because it just means that he has very little team options. He has very little partner options. And this doesn't really change when he gets serious and goes in to lose his clothing, basically. He goes gray. He goes full gray mode. But once he actually gets serious, he does have his 12 key and 18 key and his passive change quite a bit. So on his 12 key, he'll be greatly raising attack and defense for one turn and then greatly lowering the enemy's defense. That's pretty much the same. But on his Ultra Super, he'll actually now be massively raising attack and defense for one turn, which is a both 100% and 100% attack and defense raise, rather than the great and the 100%. As far as his basic abilities go, it's Ki +5, attack and defense 300. He guards at all times. He has 70% chance to dodge, 70% chance to crit. He also gets an additional Ki +2 per rainbow key sphere obtained. This is very important. Randomly changes key spheres of a certain type. 2 rainbow key spheres except for physical. This is very important. Before receiving an attack within the turn, Ki +3, chance of evading enemies attack plus 10%. Very important. When attacking, attack and defense 50. When attacking with 12 or more key, attack and defense 70. When attacking with 18 or more, attack and defense 100. When attacking with 24 key, attack 150% and attacks guaranteed to hit. Very important. And then for every rainbow key sphere obtained, attack plus 30%, and then chance of performing a crit plus 10%. So he already has 70% chance to crit, which means if you grabbed 3 rainbow key spheres, he would have a 100% chance to crit. Probably, most likely could hit this every single turn as long as he's in slot 1 or 2, but I don't feel like he's a slot 1 unit, and I'll discuss that in a minute. His links don't change. He still has the same links as before, which is why once he actually transforms, he actually partners with himself the best. And this is where the biggest differences will be in your play. So if you rock double PIKKON as a leader, then you will be fine. He will look good, he will perform well, he will do decently. Defense-wise, damage-wise, he should be pretty much fine for the most part, as long as you're feeding him a large amount of orbs. And I do mean a large amount of orbs, and I'll get to that in a second. Even with the AGL PIKKON, especially, if you don't want to rock double LR PIKKON, but you do have both of these units, so long as they are together, the physical PIKKON will look good. But otherwise, you are losing a lot of links. You are losing a lot of damage. You are losing a lot of defense not putting these two together for several reasons. One, the AGL Paikon is actually the better link partner, contrary to himself being, you know, being the best one. You might be losing one link, but you're getting 60% support from the AGL Paikon. He is actually the best link partner because he's getting that extra 60% buff from the passive. So this is actually his best partner 100% of the way, which is good because basically any team these two can go on, they can go on together. So come the day that there's a 220, 250 option, this is your best bet. But he does have clear weaknesses that I really do have to tell you about. And yeah, we have to discuss it. We really have to discuss it quite a bit. Let me just pull up some clips. Okay. So this is the first clip I want to go ahead and show y'all. This is in a, 4 rainbow key spheres instance. He's got a crap ton of Gitten and key on here. Like literally over 24 plus key, like 20, he could have like 30, 60 key or something from group that he grabbed. So I want you to watch something here. Jiren's getting dodge, and normal. So here's the thing. A lot of people are under the assumption that this Paikon can be thrown into slot 1. Yes, this is true. He can definitely be thrown into slot 1. This is a potential possibility that you could decide to do. You could try to utilize him as a dodge tank. This is possible. I will tell you why this is not a good idea. Most dodge tanks typically get more dodge as they're dodging, and that's why you use them as a dodge tank, because they can dodge more. So Hirudegarn, UI Goku, the AGL Gogeta Goku exchange unit, when you're in the Goku state, he has 80% dodge chance. This Paikon, on paper, has technically 80% dodge chance. So as you'll see over here, he does have 70% chance in his basic effects. And you'll see right here, before receiving an attack within the turn, he gets an extra 10%. Now, most people are going to assume that this means that as long as he's not, not attacking, you should be fine. That's not true. It's before you receive an attack. The first attack that you receive is the only time he will have an 80% dodge chance. After the first attack, he both loses key +3, and then he loses 10% dodge. What this means is that he only has 70% dodge chance after the first attack that comes at him. Afterwards, that's it. That's all. He has 80% chance to dodge for one attack, and then after that, he goes down to 70% chance to dodge. Now, normally, I would tell you that's not a big deal. It's just 70% still a really good chance. But I do feel like for a slot 1 unit, no. I feel like slot 1, you need to be like UI Hirudegarn status, because what you saw right there was a 400k normal on him with type advantage and guard. That's disgusting. Now, I mind you, that was also post super, so, it probably was in the million range. So he still took a crap ton of damage because, that's just how hard hitting normals are. And because of that, I don't think he should be a slot 1 unit. We are in a very difficult range of meta. People need to understand this. You also have to understand that what you're seeing right here, that is an instance of a rainbowed, perfectly freaking, that is a rainbowed, like, supported, full 200 team, as many orbs as possible, maximum defense. Like, you couldn't really get him too much better than this other than AGL Gogeta. And I don't even think does AGL Gogeta give defense? I don't think you could give him too much more defense in this instant. So, I mean, if this start of turn defense is still getting him smacked for near 400k, this could wipe your run. That's not a good enough as a slot 1 unit. Now, let me show you something else. Okay, so I want to show you this clip real quick. And what you're going to see is you're going to see Paikon's major weakness that you must be aware of when you are utilizing him. Specifically because this applies to him in slot 1 or slot 2, it doesn't matter. It just does matter quite a bit. You need to pay attention. So, what you're about to see is PIKKON's about to super attack, but you need to pay attention to what happens after he attacks and after he gets attacked. Just watch this. Did you catch it? Pay attention to his ki. Pay attention to his ki. You see that? PIKKON has ki. Now PIKKON has no ki. PIKKON ki. PIKKON no ki. This is because when PIKKON is attacked for the first time, that is when he has this activated. He loses ki +3. What this does in an AoE or a slot 1 scenario, what this does is that this will remove part of his passive. So, for instance, if you are at exactly 24 ki, you will have 150% attack and attack's guaranteed to hit. But if the enemy attacks you, you lose 24 ki and you go down to 18. You lose this part of it. And he loses all 150% attack, and he loses the attack's guaranteed to hit if he was about to super attack. So, what this means is that you actually have to collect more ki. Let me show you another clip. Alright, so I'm about to show you a clip where PIKKON has well over plenty enough ki right here. He gained so much ki, he could have had 40 plus ki. He's got a full 24 ki bar right there. Now, this is going to quote-unquote contradict my statement here. This is going to quote-unquote contradict it because he dodges, and he still has his 24 ki. This is because there technically is more ki being gathered. You gather more than 24 ki. If you would, for instance, gather 27 ki, then that's what you need to aim for. You need to aim for 27 ki total for him. You can't see the 27 ki, but it's there. Let me show you, let me show proof. All right, this is really hard to adjust to because I already recorded it, but if you look, pay attention right here, you'll see that PIKKON's about to pop up on that order right there. Just enlarge the screen. You'll see that PIKKON has 24 ki at the start of this point right here. It's very hard to catch, but he had 24 ki. And then once he was attacked, he lost that ki. Now you'll notice that he only has lost 2 ki right there. That's because so long as you collect more than 24 ki, you aim for 27 or higher ki in total. You have to math. I'm sorry, you have to math. But as long as you math out 27 ki, even if he gets attacked, he will be fine. He just needs to make sure that you get more than enough ki. As you can see right here, we're about to gather a lot more ki. We're about to gather more than 24 ki. This is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. He's about to get 12 ki in total. He's going to fill up his bar by 8. So, you'll hit 24 ki at 8. Increase that by 4, and he'll actually be at 25 ki in total, or 25 ki in total after he loses the -3 in his passive. So, the reason why I'm saying this, the reason why I'm implying this in my build video, is because this is such an important thing to know about PIKKON that it can change the way that you feel about him during the gameplay. If you by chance decided to go ahead and put him in slot 2 and not focus up on giving him orbs, then you could be suffering because if he doesn't have enough ki, an AoE attack comes at him, he loses 3 ki, he loses the 24 ki modifier, and he goes down to 12 or to 18 ki. Freaking cord issues. Can't be a Dokkan content creator if you don't have cord issues, right? But as I was saying, if you don't have 24 ki before attacking, then you will lose it. So him getting targeted for an attack before he gets to attack, he will lose this 24 key support right here. So, I think I've said enough about PIKKON as far as his major weakness goes on that. He is very key dependent. And if you do not have him linked with himself or AGL PIKKON, then he's just going to be suffering on links. You will suffer with key. Key is going to be a problem with this guy because he only has 2 key links, shocking speed, and then freaking one other key link, which is never going to go off, which is Otherworld Warriors. It's just never going to happen on average. But anyways, I apologize for the long spiel for this. I had to make sure to focus up on this weakness because it can be the difference between somebody going over to watch Dokkan World and seeing that he, you know, really wanks the crap out of this PIKKON, specifically puts him in an instance where he's not losing that key and make him look really good. And then you use this PIKKON yourself and he actually does not perform anywhere near like that. So I just wanted to try and make sure y'all are aware of his direct weaknesses being his links, his teams, his partners, and his own dang passive. So please be aware of that when you're using this unit. And finally, let's get into his defense numbers. So compliments to Halvard for doing defense calculations as per usual. Yes, you can get to a max possible about almost 2.8 million defense. This is very nice. It's good defense. Unfortunately, this is on the oddball chance that you're gonna get, well, a triple super. Very unlikely, considering you have your initial, you have a 50% chance, and then you have your hidden potential. Very unlikely to happen. More than likely, what will happen is you'll get 1 super and maybe an additional, maybe. So I would move forward into the assumption that you're going to be probably rocking around the 2.3 million. You know, that's on a rainbow, 200, 40% support, max links of cold judgment and everything else. So literally in his perfect case scenario of hoping on a double super, probably about 2.3 million defense with guard. Now that sounds good and dandy, doesn't it? Yes, it does sound good. But no, you're not going to be surviving a lot of attacks in the game. You're not surviving a critical. Crits will kill you. Crits will get him killed, unfortunately. Especially at the 5 to 6 million marker, you will die on a crit. 6 million supers will outright kill you. Because he's not on a 222, he's not on a 250 team. So he has no 250 team options, unfortunately, which means that you're subject to the 600, 700k range of defense, which PIKKON just cannot survive right now in the current state of the game. So you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe once he transforms, right? Well, let's go take a look. So if he transforms into Get Serious PIKKON, you know, if you double super, then you might have a chance to get up to 3 million defense. Sure, if you double super. Mind you, the double is from your hidden potential solely and 100%. More than likely what's going to happen is you're going to get 1 super. 1 super. The hidden potential going off is very low chance. I wouldn't count on it. You know, you can focus up on a full additional build. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's going to be one of my build suggestions for you. But remember, folks, for the hidden potential, your hidden potential proccing additional is only a chance to proc an additional attack. It's not an additional super. You still only have a 50-50 shot to additional super. So even if you get your additional up to a level 25, which is a 50% chance to activate your additional attack, you still got to flip another coin on top of that one to maybe get a super attack. Now, odds are you're going to get 1 super and be at 2.4 million defense, and you're going to have guard. You're still going to die from a 5 million plus crit. You're still going to die from a 6 million plus attack. It's not going to matter. Guard be danged, because he doesn't have any damage reduction, and that's the problem. Guard is only good with damage reduction in the state of the game. Now, mind you, once again, he has 70% chance to dodge, 80% on the first attack, if he's in Get Serious PIKKON mode. So, you know, you can roll the dice on the dodge, and more than likely he will dodge most of the time, as long as you're in a fight where you can dodge. There just is fights like Jiren that will not let you dodge, and you do need to be aware of that. So, just be very wary of his defense. He is on the borderline. He can tank normals, but he cannot tank a super of the hardest hitting bosses. He cannot. He has to be tanking 5 mil and below. 5 mil and below he can tank, maybe close to 5.5 at best. I'd have to do a little bit of math on that, but anything above 5.5 million, which Jiren can do on a crit, you will die, unfortunately. So just be very wary. The meta is shifted. Court issues are trying to make me lose my mind. All right, we got double defense numbers here because I really feel like I have to emphasize one big issue with this guy. The biggest issue being that without Cold Judgment accounts for a lot. It really does. And compliments the Blood Raven for this. So if you want to look at his defense without support and without Cold Judgment, on a double, triple super with base PIKKON, you're only looking at 2.2, close to 2.3 million defense. That's not a lot. So you're losing about 300 to 400 plus K of defense just not having Cold Judgment. So without Cold Judgment in base, PIKKON's looking pretty weak. Guard and 2 million defense is not a lot. Please stop thinking it is, because it's really not a lot of defense when it comes to the supers in this game. The supers are going to either get you low enough on health to regret life, or you'll be just high enough to live barely. Either way, it's not ideal. Not an ideal situation. And then as far as when he gets serious, without the Cold Judgment link, even if he double supers, he's still at the same amount of defense, hovering around that 2.5 million defense range with only shocking speed. I really felt like people needed to see the difference between having Cold Judgment and not having Cold Judgment. It's very important. I feel it's very important. Thank you, Blood Raven, for doing these calculations. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to his build suggestions. All right, now, so the build suggestions on the side, if you haven't been paying attention while you've been watching. So for a 55% build for PIKKON, I would highly suggest that you just give him a more additional. And this is going to carry into his one dupe build. I would just really suggest you give him a silver additional and a bronze additional. Always make sure they're infinity equipped orbs or EX skill orbs so that you can replace them at your leisure. Especially if you decide to go for more of a dodge build. But the one dupe build is going to be the same. When you get one dupe in the bottom right hand corner, you can add a total additional of 9 additional, plus what he already has as a physical unit. He can get up to a level 14 without any equipment. So if you add a level 5 silver equipment, that would put him up to level 19, and then if you gave him a level 2 additional bronze, that would put him up to 21 in total of additional, which is actually pretty good. You know, that's not bad. That's actually a good number to be rocking, especially for only having one dupe. I would just put the last remaining node into a dodge, as this unit does not need crit. PIKKON doesn't need crit, so please do not put any nodes into crit. And as far as his builds will go, as I said, I would highly suggest you just pick or choose one of the two. You either go for a full dodge build, or you go for a full damaging build, which honestly I would say is more of a nuking build, and just give him full on additional. And at that point, you might as well give him an attack orb to make sure that he 100% does more damage. So if you're going for this more damage build, go for the level 20 additional minimum, and then just give him 2 more frickin' additionals in the gold and silver equip, putting him at a level 30 total, which gives him a 60% chance to proc his additional. And then, of course, your coin flip of it'll be a super or a normal. That would be probably the most common suggestion for him, as I do feel like in the future, no matter what, you're just going to want to try and get a crap ton of damage all at once. Keep in mind, if you get to a nuking status with him and you collect more than 27 key and you keep that modifier in his passive up, then he'll probably be up into the 70-80 million range on supers, and then an additional will probably be spiking down to like 30-40 million. It just highly depends on your team. It depends on your support. It depends on who he's linked with. If he's not linked with himself, his damage is not going to be that big. It's really not. So do please keep that in mind when you go about that. Otherwise, if you really do just want him to survive, I would not blame you to make sure that you just give him full dodge. And then just rock off whatever additional he can. This is the most survival-esque way I would say he could live. Because remember, he's only has 70% chance to dodge. People are misreading his passive and not understanding that he only gets one attack received as his 80% dodge. That's it. Otherwise, he only has 70% chance. And not to mention, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people will use this PIKKON as a support unit in his base state. I think that's the big thing here, is that I feel like in his base, people will probably try to utilize him for the 40% support. I feel like we should be aiming higher. There's better units with more support, I feel. But, you know, to each their own. It really depends on what kind of team you're trying to build. But it is something to keep in mind. You know, you could just treat him like a support unit and give him full dodge and just keep him base the whole time. That's entirely up to you, of course. You don't have to do it that way. But if you just want to use him as a supportive unit, that is also an option. So, with that all being said, let's move on to his role tips. As far as his role tips go, unfortunately, I don't really like too much of it. He is typically a damage dealer, but I will say he can be a support unit in base specifically. But if you transform him, he turns into a nuker. His leader options are very thin because he only has about 6 categories. I would say Double Glorio with that Double Glorio off-turn rotational support is probably his best bet. But then you do have Cell as a 200%. No. Is Cell 200%? Hold on, let me double check that. Is Cell actually 200? Or he's just 170, right? Cell's just 170 as a leader. Okay, he gives HP 200%, but you're still getting the attack and defense of 70%. So that's nice. That is good. That is good. At the very least, you know. And with the domain, he'll get that 15%. So he's kind of close to, I don't know. He's close to like a 180 leader, basically. So I would still say Glorio is probably his best leader. And then after that, I would say he himself is his best leader, of course. If you do use he himself as his leader, then you're basically just rocking, you know, 10th anniversary duo and double PIKKON, triple PIKKON actually, and then some random floating unit, and that's it. Otherwise, there's not very much room for making another team, unfortunately. I feel like that's literally the only team you can rock with him as the leader. But anyways, as far as partners go, definitely anyone that has Cold Judgment will definitely make up for a lack of his defense, especially if you don't have him rainbowed. Glorio is actually a good partner as he does have Cold Judgment, and then the off-rotational support will help out quite a bit. Otherwise, you really just want to partner him with he himself. You know what? I did not add AGL PIKKON to that. I really should do that. Apologies, I forgot to add AGL PIKKON onto there. But anyways, yes, PIKKON, he himself is his best link partner 100% of the way. But then after that, honestly, whatever means you can to get 27 key in total for him is what you really need to aim for. Especially if you decide to transform him into his Get Serious state. Because once you get him into his Get Serious state, that's when you have to kind of worry about his passive a lot. Because in his Get Serious state, he does need to get 27 key to make up for the fact that he is losing key +3 before he receives an attack. When he receives an attack, basically. This means that if you do put him into slot 1, you do have to worry about your 24 key going off. If you are in a fight with AoEs, you do have to worry about him getting attacked by an AoE and losing that key +3. So just be aware of that big, huge weakness of him if you put him into slot 1. You can do it. Like I said, the first attack is an 80% dodge chance, but after that, you lose that key +3, you lose that 10% dodge chance, and then he goes down to a 70% chance to dodge. That is the reason I don't put him in slot 1 as a best slot position. I think in slot 2, he's nice and safe. Not every fight has an AoE. Just be aware that AoEs can hurt him, technically speaking. So aim for that 27 key if you're going to be throwing him into slot 1 or in an AoE fight, specifically. All right, guys? But anyways, I think that's going to be pretty much it. I dogged on this guy a lot, and this is probably one of my longest how to build videos, because I felt like he had such a glaring weakness that people are just going to constantly overlook and just try to give him more benefit to the doubt. But at the end of the day, I think he's a fun unit. I think he's cool. He's got good animations. He's got a very good soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. And he can nuke pretty decently, but honestly, at the end of the day, I do feel like he's kind of reminiscent of the LR Super Saiyan 2 Carnival Gohan, where instead of having additionals, they actually are defensively about the same. The difference being that Gohan doesn't dodge, but Gohan also has some damage reduction with his guard, and he also has a little bit better DPS in all honesty. So, but anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the new physical LR PIKKON. I don't suggest summoning, but do let me know if you're going to summon. Let me know what teams you're going to put them on and what build suggestion you went with. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and a good night.